I just finished recording the Chronicle of Our Kings with Pastor Curt Buckmire. He had so many amazing nuggets to drop. I'm so excited for you to see this particular video. Speaking of great, they were great, the things he had to say. But one of the things that stood out for me, I said, what is your message to our young men? And he said that if you are providing value and if you are doing your absolute best, and this is me paraphrasing, people will pay for you to come, whether that's you're doing your best as an athlete or a student. People will pay for you to go to college, right? But also in everyday life, if you are providing value and if you are being an asset in your community and in the world, that's how you bring in value. And that's what's going to keep you above the status quo. That's what's going to keep you from being a stereotype. Anyway, take a look at it. There's so much more he had to say. I'm doing nothing, he said, any justice. You end up getting a little bit of financial advice here. You get a little bit of marital counseling here. So many different things. But yeah, just take a look and let me know what you think in the comments. See ya.
Great. Hello, everyone. So good to see you all, whoever might join this recording. My name is Shirley Brooks, and I am a life coach, and I dabble in other stuff like beauty and things like that, but I'm also a mom, which is my favorite thing to be. And as a mom of one young man who actually will be 13 next month, when all the things started to happen recently with Black Lives Matter, not that the issues are brand new, but just the heightened awareness that we have right now, it came to me that one of the concerns for our community is that our young men, our young kings, need examples of kings in their community that are doing good things that they can look up to and maybe aspire to be like. They traditionally have the athlete here and there, or, you know, the musical artist or something like that. But I want our young men to see that there is more that you can do to be, to provide a significant influence to the people around you and to be successful in life. And insert our Pastor Curt here, who graciously volunteered to be one of the kings that I wanted to interview. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. I definitely appreciate you accepting my invite. So we'll just dive in. So tell me about Curt the man. Like, what do you love about life? What, just you as a person? And it's funny because we did a podcast the other day and we asked a young lady the same question, and she could totally describe herself in terms of career and things like that. But she's like, me? Who am I? But I think it's important for us to know ourselves outside of what we do, right? So tell us about you.
Oh, yeah. I think the question is important because, again, who you talking to, who's before you. So my name is Curt Buckmire. I was actually born in the Caribbean in a little country called Trinidad. It's right off the coast of Venezuela. So I was born in Trinidad in the West Indies. Came to America. My mother came to America, and I came when I was 7.
Oh.
So grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So initially I was more a New Yorker. I graduated from the university system, Bernard Baruch College in New York City. I have a degree in informational systems. Actually, my day job, I'm in IT. And I moved to Georgia back in 1990. We got married because I always wanted to get out of New York. New York is, for New Yorkers, they know it is a fast pace, you love it, or you need to get out of there. And I was one of the people that needed to get out of there. And I've been in Georgia ever since, and I pretty much love Georgia. I like we live in the suburb of Atlanta called Snellville. The motto here is everybody is somebody in Snellville. So, and just like you, we have 2 boys, but mine are a little older. So your fun is about to start at the age of 13. But yeah,
I see it coming already. But
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. We have two boys. Christian is 26 and Andrew is 23. So just a
Oh,
little,
my son's
just a,
middle name is Christian.
yeah, just a little older than yours. But and basically, I'm more my mother's son, because one of the things I've learned, my mother taught us that life is short, so you need to enjoy it, and that's all we try to do is try to enjoy life and what comes our way. So
That's
that's me in a
good.
nutshell.
That's a great. I love that you were able to get it all out. Like I said, it's hard for some people sometimes. So that's cool. So you guys are from New York in the 90s. That's when we moved here from Buffalo. My parents moved here in 1990, I think, or 91,
Hmm.
from Buffalo, New York. And my dad was actually born in Brooklyn.
Yeah, there you go. So it's probably not too far from me.
Right. So
Yeah, one of the benefits that you have is that you're interviewing a pastor, and we get to talk a lot, and a lot of time there are time constraints. So we're quite comfortable with the format.
let's see. Awesome. So you mentioned you are a pastor, but you said you're also IT by day and I guess pastor as well. How did you become a pastor? But also tell us about, for anyone who might be, young men nowadays who might be wanting to get into the IT field, what are some things you like about it? What made you go to school for that? And then tell us how you also moved into becoming a pastor.
Okay, so from an IT standpoint, growing up, I was very good at math. Math comes easy to me. And at the
Wow.
time, uh, w- with your strengths, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about,
Uh-huh.
success. How do you define success? And finding
Mm-hmm.
one of the things of defining success is finding your purpose, right? So being good at math, I looked to get into a field with that inclination because it came easy to me. So I could have been a statistician. One of the things they told me about was an actuary, but being an actuary is you have to take a test for 7 years, and if you don't pass the test, then you can't be an actuary anymore. And that was right around the time the explosion of the PC and the internet was just coming into being at
Okay.
that time. So again, it was something that came naturally to me because IT is primarily programming is primarily algebra. It's logic, and I'm a logical person. So I would say to any young person, and it doesn't matter if it's IT or any other field, you first have to find what is your passion. Me and my best friend actually went to programming school together, and in the midst of the school, I'm like, dude, you can't get this, and he's like, no, I don't get it. I'm like, you need to quit, and he left the school because it things that I saw and it was natural to me. It was easy. It's like, do you not see this? It's like
Right.
you're not in your purpose. You're not doing what you're. I mean, it may sound good, and a lot of times people get into trouble because they pursue money. And in
They
life, you
pursue
cannot
money or they
pursue money.
pursue what sounds good, like you said. Like his
Yeah,
parents probably said IT is the biggest thing, and he probably pursued it because you were doing it and it's not his thing. And a lot of people do that and they actually become adults and are living almost like double life, because they're not happy doing what they're doing or what they went to school for. But if they would have just stopped, like you gave that guy amazing advice at a good time where he could change his mind and do something else. But
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, that's really important.
No, but that's perfect. That's perfect because that's one of the things I would tell young people is you first have to find your purpose. Because if you even the athletes, one of the things you see when you talk to athletes is that they love the sport, right? Because the performance is a small part. We see even in pastoring, we see the lights, camera, action. You don't see all the things that go on behind the scenes. You see the movie come out, but you don't see the 2 years that the actors and the actresses put into producing that movie or bringing that
Right.
movie to the screen. You don't
Right.
see the 5 a.m. wake up calls. You don't see the 12, the 15, the 16, the 18-hour days that they go through. You don't see the hard work. And it's not about the money, it's about the passion, right? And then from a pastoring standpoint, so I pretty much, I was one of those kids where their mother took them to church, grew up in the church. And it was in like 1982 when there's one thing to be in the church. It's another thing for the church to be in you. And I gave my life to the Lord in about 1982. And what happens is that, you don't just go from being a brother in the church to being a pastor, right? There's a path, right? God takes you to, as you walk out your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? as you walk out the giftings, one of the things you talked about is how do you know the giftings? How do you walk in your giftings, right? And what happens is as you continue to walk and you continue to do what God has called you to do, more is revealed. So one of the things we believe as Christians is that everybody has gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Those gifts are just dormant in them. And many a times some of those gifts try to come out, and because we don't understand them, we suppress them. Okay? And what happens is as you walk and you work in the church, what begins to happen is your gifts begin to manifest itself. So I started as a brother in the church, and then I went from a brother to a minister, from a minister to an elder, and then from an elder to a pastor, right? So you spent a significant period of time in each one of the offices, and those offices prepare you for the next office.
That's amazing. And I like what you said about, your purpose has always been there, but you have to walk in it to be able to, or you have to walk and experience life to be able to have it revealed. One day someone asked me, what do I really believe about purpose, or how you find your purpose? I don't think it's a found. I think you learn how to articulate it through living life, right?
But it's a self-discovery.
But it's
Because
a
a lot of times,
self-discovery, yeah.
you said it yourself just now. One of the things we find, and I do marital counseling, and one of the challenges in marital counseling is people getting married and they don't know themselves. Right?
Yes, big.
Yeah,
Yes.
because the only person you can control in a relationship is yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of times people come into a relationship trying to change other people, but they don't know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, why are you trying to duplicate yourself? You want somebody many times to be a mirror image of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But why do we need duplicates? You see, you came together because you're differences. Now you have to learn how to live with each other's differences. And part of the challenge is learning yourself. Before you can learn to live with somebody else, you first have to learn yourself. That's why a lot of marriages end in divorce, simply because people don't know themselves.
Listen, we might have to have a whole nother discussion on another day with that right there, because I think that's 100% key. And it's that way in any relational dynamic. It's like, being a life coach, one of the main things we teach about is becoming more aware of self and learning how to live with self and understanding more about who you are as a person and being comfortable with that, understanding what your boundaries are and things like that. So that when you become I used to tell my sister, I would say, you don't want to be a half and a half. You want to be a one and a one,
A hole in a hole, correct.
Yeah, a hole in a hole coming into a relationship. So awesome. Okay, cool. So you play several influential roles in life. Obviously, being in IT, that's a big deal, especially in the age that we're in, right? Technology and all that kind of stuff. But also, like you said, just the journey into becoming a pastor. What were some obstacles you faced in your journey as you became successful at each one? And maybe you could help us or help those viewing learn more about one of the toughest situations you faced along the way that help you to become better or more comfortable with who you are today.
Yes, yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I struggle with this question simply because I don't really view life that way. Right?
Right.
Challenges, everybody in life faces challenges,
Mm-hmm.
right? And your mindset of how you face the challenge a lot of times determine how you're able to overcome the challenges. And to me,
right.
So I think that when I look at, and the way I looked at the question, I think the toughest thing, one of the things I had to overcome was the challenge of going to school full-time and work full-time, right? So growing up in the inner city, in my first year, I went away to college. I went to Towson State in Towson, Maryland, and I lived, the college life. But that was the most broke time in my life.
As it is for most students.
Right. And if I would have continued there, I would have ended up like a lot of students with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 worth of debt. So I decided to go back home, and I worked full time and went to school full time.
Okay.
And that was very challenging in that, you had to be disciplined enough. So I tell people, fortunately for growing up in the inner city, you get exposed to things very quickly. So when I went to college, I really didn't go to college parties because I already knew what partying was all about. In high school. And so there was nothing a lot of times that, people go go to college and they get themselves trapped in their situations because this is the first time away from home. Well, it wasn't the first time I was away from home. So there's a lot of things I had already experienced. So when I went to college, I pretty much went to get the degree. So that was my focus, right? So that, for me, that was probably one of the most challenging times in our life. But my mother didn't raise us that way. Like, we didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't know it, right?
Okay.
She always made sure we had what we needed.
Right.
Right? She never made us, look at other people. One of my mother's sayings is, you never look at what other people have because you don't know what they did to get it.
Right. Yes. I love that. Yes.
Right. So those were the type. That's how we were raised. So me and my brother were raised very fundamentally sound. Right. So I mean, she raised us as a single mom, because my dad is still alive, but he's in Trinidad. My mom and my dad divorced. So she raised us not to look at the obstacles as something that will stop you. Right. It's just the next thing you have to overcome to get to your final destination. And that's what I would say to any young person. Right. There's a saying that I say, anything in life is difficult if you don't know how to do it, or anything is easy once you know how to do it, right? So like, I can't bake a cake, right? That would be difficult to me.
Right.
Even if I got the instructions, it probably won't come out as well as somebody who's experienced at it. But the people who are experienced, is easy, right? Anything in life is easy to you once you know what you're doing.
Right. I was just telling my son that earlier, because he's going into the 8th. He aspires to be a quarterback, and that's really hard work. And it's hard when you are mostly in environments where you're African American. They want you to do like the wide receiver and stuff like that. They don't really want you to
He's
be
more athletic, right?
Yeah, but he really wants to be a quarterback, and he's been doing a lot of training, but it's going to require more effort, because with us, it's 10 times more, that we have to put into it. And I said, if you really want this, you got to do more effort, more work, but know that over the course of time, after you put in all that effort, it's going to become almost effortless. There's going to be more stuff to learn along the way, but for the most part, the fundamentals and the things about it that make it difficult for you right now, if you just put in the work right now, it's going to get easier over the course of time. Like you said, baking a cake. Even my mom is a great cake baker. I am not that. But if I did it over and over again, I would become good at it. For me, success is consistency over time. Like, the more you do something, the better you get at it, you're going to have the outcomes you're looking for, right? So, I get it. Like, there are and there will be obstacles along the way, but it's your mindset. Like you said, very similar thought process. That's cool. So I saw something on your social media, and it said, sounds like today's Democratic Party: destroy the Black family and then give the victims housing, food stamps, SNAP, and WIC. This statement resonates with me. Sorry, y'all, it does, but it resonates with me, and I felt it. I haven't been able to articulate it that way, but I felt it that way in the past, and I probably wasn't as liberated as you were to actually put it out there. So kudos to you. But what inspired that statement, and what are some things you think any politician should do differently in this area, or is the answer even a political answer?
Well, see, here's the thing. One of the things about me is I've always been outspoken. I mean, people, my friends, even when I was younger, it's like, when you come to me and you ask me a question, I always say, do you want to know the truth, or do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? So people know, I mean, my personality is such that my issue was, sometimes I talk too much. So I'm always mindful. But if you look at the post was speaking to, I think it was a dictator, and the fact that how we condition people, right? And I'm a logical person. I'm an analytical person. So I analyze things. And part of my job of being a leader in the community is having to articulate what I see. And one of the challenges is, from a political standpoint, in our country, there are two political parties, but at the core, they're both the same, right? Once you understand the game, right? Like, your son is looking to play football, right? Life is a game. And one of the challenges for you see what's going on with Black Lives Matter, and you see that what they're trying to do is they're trying to change the society in which we live. They're trying to change the rules of the game. Currently, in the society in which we live, you can be successful as an African American doing some very simple things. Number one, get an education.
Mm-hmm.
One of the challenges I had growing up, I tried to figure out somewhere along the line, because I was smart in school, but somewhere along the line, being Black and being smart equates you trying to be white.
Yeah, right.
And I never understood where that came from, because I was just Black and I was just smart. I wasn't trying to be anybody.
Or if you speak proper,
Yeah, I was just
no,
trying to be
I was just
myself.
Black and I speak proper. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know anything any different.
Yeah, so I always try to figure out, like, where did that come from? So I try to break that down stereotype in the African American community and with our Black kids today. So that's number one, get your education. Number two, don't have a child out of wedlock. Okay, if statistics show if you can get out of high school without having a child, right? Again, that furthers your opportunity to be successful. And number three, if you can wait to have a child after you get married. And the funny thing is, a lot of the people that our young people look up to, like a Jay-Z and a Beyonce, they did exactly what, even though he used to be a drug dealer.
Right.
Exactly what.
We'll leave the past to the past, but.
Right? Again, you get an education. A prime example is like a P. Diddy. Who knew he graduated from Harvard? A lot of these people that our kids look up to, they don't realize how smart they really are.
Really,
the fact that they have education, right? They just keep it on the down low because it doesn't lend to their street cred and it doesn't lend to the brand that they've built.
Right.
But these individuals are quite educated. They're very smart. So the thing about it is, in the society in which we live, once you understand that two political parties are mirror images of the same, the only thing they're fighting for is over power. Okay, you understand we're just pawns, right? And African Americans are just pawns of the Democratic Party,
right?
Because one of the things the Republican Party has learned is that they can win without the African American vote. They can get 5-6% in the African American vote and still win. The Democratic Party has learned that they need the African American vote. But what has subsequently happened when you go back to the Great Society programs, you see that they drove the Black man out of the home, and in driving the Black man out of the home, what they had to do was compensate for that. So the government took the place of the Black man, right? So now you have 3 out of 4, 75% of African American kids growing up in single parent homes. And the way the Democratic Party solidifies that vote is by buying it. And then they buy the vote with the welfare programs. Okay? And that's just analyzing. That's just being analytical. It took me a little while to figure it out, what they are doing. Right? So if I had my way, I would tell every Black person in America, leave both Republican and Democratic Party and become independents. I'll give you a prime example, right? You look at the last two really, what we would consider great Democrat presidents, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Both of them did very little for the African American community, right? But what did they do? They did a whole lot for the LGBTQ community, right? Yeah. Because with Barack Obama, when he went in the first time, he was against gay marriage. The second time around, the gay community was not donating any money to his campaign. And in order for him to get the money from the gay community, he had to support gay marriage. It came down to dollars. It's all political power, right? And it's what has you done for me lately? Right. And because African Americans, Black people, support the Democratic Party without any stipulations, simply because the Democratic Party has branded the Republican Party as being racist. Right? I tell my friend, they talk about Trump being racist, but Trump was cool before he was a politician because he was just another rich guy. Right. And he hung out with all the rich guys. But I tell them, go back. They called Reagan racist, right? Reagan was with the gays and HIV. They called Reagan was racist. Bush is racist. Bush II is racist. Any Republican that runs, they brand them and label them as being racist. So that way, Black people won't vote for them. Right. Oh, so geez. You're not voting for, you're voting against, you vote for the Democratic Party, they turn around and do nothing for you. The reason why Trump is such a threat, because he came to Black people and said, what do you got to lose?
Nothing.
What do you got to lose? And the Democratic Party cannot allow that to happen. So again, I've learned it's a game. We're in a game of life. It's really the Game of Thrones. I don't know if those of you who watch the series understand.
I'm the only person who has not watched it. My whole family loves this series, and I haven't watched it at all. And I think it's even over now, but
You can still go back.
it would take forever for me to catch up.
Yeah, no, you can binge watch anything, believe me. But it's about the game of power.
Okay.
That's all it comes down to. In that time, it was kings and queens, and they actually killed people.
Mm-hmm.
In this time, it's politicians, and if you get on the wrong side, they'll cancel you. Okay? But literally, they're trying to take you out. But it's all about power. That's it.
So this is a question I didn't throw out there, but because we're on the subject, there are a lot of people who think, especially in our community, well, why should I vote? Why should I go? And if you're not comfortable answering this question, I totally am fine. Oh, okay.
Again, you're talking to a pastor.
All right.
It doesn't matter the question. I will have an answer.
Okay, cool. So especially younger people, they're just like, why even bother? My one vote won't count, or I voted before and, such and such still happened or didn't happen. What do you say to that young person who is, on the fence about voting this year?
Oh, sure. Well, the thing is, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Because voting is your voice. Voting is your opportunity to express how you want this country to go, right? Who you choose. And it's not just the president. It's just not the senator. It's not just the congressman. There are also people on your local level. So we have a friend of ours who's actually running for the sheriff of Henry County. Okay. So it's at every level. You can't complain about the school board and the school that your kids are in if you have not participated and had an opportunity and taken the opportunity for both of the people who are going to lead the school board, right? The city council. So voting is not just at the high levels, it's at the local level as well, right? So, and the reason you vote is because there are so many people who went before you and died that you had the right to express your vote. We're talking about Black Lives Matter. Well, what do you think they're fighting for? The equality of the African American, the equality of the Black man and the Black woman. Well, part of what that equality equates to is you being able to exercise the right to vote. At one time in this country, Black people did not have the right to vote. So if you are sickened and if you are angry by 400 years of systematic racism, one of the opportunities you have to show that we have overcome that is by exercising the right of individuals who've gone before you and who have died, who have sacrificed their life, that you may have the right to vote. So it's almost like a slap in the face. You're being hypocritical if you're on one mouth you're saying Black Lives Matter, and in the other hand you're not voting.
All right. Well, there you have that part. Just stuck that one in there.
If you ask me any question.
No, I mean, it's good because the time that we're in. One of my
blessings and one of my curses. I have to
But right now it's a blessing. It's a blessing right now. But it is, a very current subject matter. And, if any young people are watching and they are kind of on the fence, I hope that helped you out. So I'll go on to the next question. So nowadays, young Black men are bombarded with ideas from their parents and the media of what success looks like. A lot of times in our community, we equate it it's equated to being a pro athlete or being a rapper or something highly influential, compared to the everyday person. And those are good versions of success, don't get me wrong. But part of why I'm doing this is to show young Black men that there are other options out there. And so you being a king in your community yourself, how do you define success?
Yeah, like I stated earlier, it's really finding purpose. But one of the challenges you have to deal with young people is not so much the influence. They're chasing the dollar. So the athletes are wealthy, the artists are wealthy. And when I tell young people, see, fortunately for me, I grew up in New York, and my first job was on Wall Street. I worked for Merrill Lynch. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. They don't understand money. Because the thing what I point out to them is you don't want to strive to be the athlete. You want to be the strive to the person writing the athlete's check. You see? So you're thinking millionaires, right? But there's somebody writing those $1 million checks.
Mm-hmm.
See? So the first thing, though, is you have to find your purpose, whatever your purpose is, right? Because people think having a lot of money will make you happy. That is not, in fact, the case. And yeah, I give examples. Like one of the things I teach in the church is finances as well. So you look at Terrell Owens. T.O. was a football player. He was a marquee wide receiver. While he was in the league, he made $70 million total, right? But when he left the league, he was broke. A fool and his money is soon parted, right? So it doesn't matter how much you make. So that's why it's important for you, if you want to be successful in life. Success in life does not equate to how much money you have, because you can have a whole lot of money and have a whole lot of misery as well, right? So a lot of times when you listen to athletes, when you talk to them, the successful ones, they love the sport. So like your son is being a football player and he wants to be a quarterback. If he's not willing to do the work, if he's not willing to be the first on the field, if he's not willing after practice to get a wide receiver and say, hey, let me throw some passes to you.
Which is
right?
what he does. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. You have to love the process.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You have to love the process. If you just look at the destination and you don't love the process, you'll never make the destination. Right. So you have to love the process in order to get to the destination. And then when you do get to the destination, you won't be happy at the destination if that's all you were striving for. So my son one played football. Both of them played football, but at the high school level, one was basketball, one was football. So I told my son, right, the first thing is you make the team, right, AAU team. Don't just be happy to make the team. Now you want to start, right? You want to start the game, right? And once you start the game, you just don't want to start. Then you want to finish, right? Because there's a lot of times there are different people who start a game than finish the game. You may have a 6-man coming off the bench, and that's the person that's going to finish the game. So there are levels that you can achieve, even as you've achieved your goal. I made the varsity basketball team. I'm starting on the varsity basketball team. I'm finishing on the varsity.
I'm letting my son listen to this today because probably even before I upload it, because that's exactly what I was trying to articulate to him, that there are levels to it. Like, bite this part off and be proud of yourself. Bite that part off and then be proud of yourself, and always be aspiring to different levels, because even when you arrive where you want to be at, there's still going to be something else that you need to have to keep you going.
That is correct. Because the first thing, I mean, and again, your son, he wants to be a quarterback. He wants to be the starting quarterback of the team,
Mm-hmm.
right? The first thing is you got to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't overlook that.
Right. And that's what I tell him. I'm like, the fact that you're here, this is your second year at the school, the offense now, they want to use you for different things. And even he's like, if it can't be quarterback, I'm not going to be happy about that. But if I can start, I just want to start. Let me start a position, and then I can work on the next things. But,
But the thing he has to understand, and again, if I understand his mindset, and he's trying to prepare his mind and his heart, right? Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, if you want to be a quarterback, one thing he has to understand is football, people go down.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The last starting quarterback for the Georgia football team
mm-hmm.
started after the starting quarterback went down.
Yeah, Jake Fromm. Mm-hmm.
Jake Fromm, right.
We follow all of that, okay?
Right, yeah, again. So it's like, dude, if you want to be a quarterback, keep that focus, because again, if you can throw the ball at a high rate and make and make completions, you'll get noticed.
And that's the thing. And that's what we say.
The thing is, you have to be prepared when your opportunity comes.
Yes, and that's exactly it. I'm going to let him watch this just so he knows I'm not just feeding him just a bunch of crap. Like, I'm telling him the truth. Somebody else is saying it.
No, I coach. And I coach my son, but I coach basketball.
Okay, but it's the mindset is the same,
It's both athletics. The thing is, it's not you do what your coaches ask you to do, but you always be the best. Just be the best. And then when your opportunity will come, it will come.
Yes.
And just be
Yes.
prepared for it.
And you
Just be
guys, this
prepared for it.
translates into life too. Anyone
That
watching,
is
this
life.
translates into life.
No,
Sports is just the easiest example of it. But if you
for the metaphor
watch,
for life.
it's a metaphor for life. Like a lot of the most successful people at, my day job, their background, they didn't go on to be football players, but they played in high school, or they were in sports, period. But they played in high school, they played in college, and they excelled at it. But they will tell you, like, the reason why I am as great a business person as I am today, or I've been able to overcome the obstacles that I have today or I have the drive I have today is because of what I learned from being in athletics. It doesn't mean that you have to be in athletics to learn drive, but it's just,
let me break it down
place.
real simple. So right now, for young people in school, your job is school. You should strive to be the best. Always strive to be the best. Part of our challenge is, some people get comfortable accepting mediocrity. That's not acceptable. So you may not excel in everything, but excel in that which you are good at.
Right.
Don't hang around with people. If you're an A student, let's say math, because my thing was math, right? You have to be able to still be cool, but don't allow, just because you may hang around with people and they get D's in math or C's in math. Math is not their strength. Don't dumb yourself down to hang with the crowd.
Yes.
Okay. If you were born to be an eagle and you're hanging out with chickens, eagles kill chickens. Okay. And it's just a mindset. One of our challenges with young people is you get your friends and you latch onto your friends, not realizing for the majority of us, once you graduate high schools, you're never going to see some of those people again.
Right.
You go your separate ways. And even if they're still in the neighborhood, if you're destined for something, you're hindering yourself by allowing people to hold you back. One of the things we learn in life, there's a concept called the booster rockets. And very simple, in order for a rocket to break the Earth's atmosphere, it does not do it under its own power. It has booster rockets that help propel it through the atmosphere, then the booster rockets fall off. There are people that come into your life that are booster rockets. Their job is just to help you get to the next level, and then they're going to fall off. You cannot
are starting
take
to preach
everybody
right now. Keep going.
You can't take everybody with you where you're going.
Right.
And along your destination, other people come along to push you forward. Part of the challenge is, and you see that MC Hammer ran into this. Remember back in the day, some of these kids don't know MC Hammer.
I know who it is. I know his story.
He came out of the hood and he employed everybody in the hood to the point where it broke him.
Yeah, he ended up broke. Yeah.
He ended up broke because, again, eventually you can't, those people were there to thrust you forward. And you might be able to take one or two people with you, but you can't take everybody. And the challenge is, again, if you're in high school, if you're in middle school, and you're allowing other people, you're dumbing yourself down to fit in with the crowd. You're not helping yourself. You're actually hurting yourself, and it's going to hurt you in the long run.
And honestly, that's a message for almost any age group, because it's sad. It's not, I don't want to say it's sad, but it's interesting to see where you have adults who are so focused on, I have to have someone around, that they lower their personal standards just because they want to have this certain group of people around or want to be accepted by this certain group of people. And you're delaying your potential because you're more concerned about them than you are about your future. My son asked me a question earlier about, it was something, we're just having like a long drawn out conversation. We always do. But he said something about, well, if I don't do this, I could do that, but I don't know, which one should I do? And I said, you have to do what's best for you. I'm not living your life. You're responsible for your happy. You're responsible for, living out your I can't tell you what to do when it comes to, what your future is, right? Like, I can only give you guidelines on how to conduct yourself in a, moral, ethical way, but you have to pick what is going to make you happy, within the foundation of that you've been given, within right and wrong and stuff like that. But we can't do that for you, and no one can. But yeah, it's That right there, I started getting chills when you were talking, because I'm
Yeah.
like, it's a real thing. And especially, when I was in middle school and high school, it took me all the way until probably 11th grade to, in the end of 11th grade at that, to not be so focused on trying to be in the in crowd. And I didn't do
Yeah.
a whole bunch of things, but mentally it was killing me. Like, it ruined my self-esteem. And I was still doing all the right things because that's what you were raised to do. And I was scared to death of my parents, and I love God. So I was like, I'm not going to do all the stuff I see everybody else doing. But in terms of that feeling that you feel, because that's a real thing, and you have to
Oh
still move
yeah.
past it, of not feeling accepted, right? By the
Yes.
people around you, or feeling, lame and things like that. That's a real thing. But like you said, to this day, I don't associate with anybody that I wanted to so desperately be, friends with. And for the few people that, I did develop relationships with, we never talk. And it's not a negative thing. It's just, the whole point is, if you're young and you're watching this, understand that, relationships are temporary, but your life is the longest thing you'll ever do. So,
Yeah. For most people, especially if they go to college,
mhm.
most of the relationships you make in college, you tend to take on into life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you might be living with a person. But
Hmm.
high school, because what happens, you get up, you grow up, sometimes you go away to college and you don't
Right.
move back, right?
Or they
You
go
go,
away. The
yeah.
point is, y'all
So
part
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
So
It's hard
yeah.
to get young people to understand the reason why you're attached to this person is simply because of the location, your high school, right? That's the same thing with adults. When people on your job call you friends, like,
Hmm.
we're not friends outside of this job.
Right. We're
I never see you,
acquaintances.
right? We're
We're
coworkers.
coworkers, right?
Yeah, but outside of this job, I have a very simple definition for a friend. You come to my house, I come to your house. That means you let me into your space, I let you into my space. Outside of that, where we have another type of relationship.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes total sense. So we are almost coming to a close here. And so I wanted to just again tell you thank you for accepting my invitation to be on this platform. You're a very positive Black man, and your thought process and everything is something that our young kings really need to hear. So I thank you for sharing that. But I did want to know, like, what made you say yes to my invitation? What made you volunteer to be a part of Chronicle of Our Kings?
Because you're doing something that's positive, right? You're trying to help young men and young women. And I mean, I always try to attach myself and try to support people who are doing things positive, right? Because again, especially in the age in which we live, the social media platform is so profound, so large, and you have the ability to reach out and to touch so many people, right? So how do
Hmm.
you get your voice heard, right? So I have my own platform. I get the opportunity to minister on a Sunday morning. I get the opportunity to share. But this is a platform that, if given the opportunity, and if you want to reach young people, then you take advantage of the young people. I've had opportunities to go actually into middle schools to, in assemblies and talk to young people. So it's upon us, if we want to share. The Bible talks about the old men teaching the young men, and the older women teaching the young women. If we want
Yes.
to do that in this age, how do you do that? Well, you take advantage of the social media platforms, and you take advantage of any opportunity that you have of someone trying to do someone trying to do something positive and constructive. You come alongside them, and you just help them. And if all I'm doing is lending a voice for an hour to share, some of my life experience and some of the things I've learned, some of the mistakes we've had, right? And how you can help other people avoid those mistakes, and be what you call being successful.
Hmm. Hmm. That's awesome. And I totally appreciate you doing this. So you dropped like so many nuggets. I was writing almost everything you were saying down because it was all like really good stuff. So this, I don't know if this would be a hard question to answer now because you probably answered it all the way through, but just to make it like 100% clear to any young man who might be watching, what would you want him to take away from this talk today?
Yes, specifically, there are a couple of things. Number one, you can do anything you put your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the challenges in our society. And the beauty of it is, we, especially with young people today, they had the opportunity to live through 8 years of the first African-American president,
Yeah.
right? The question is, who's going to be the second?
Right.
Or who's going to be
Right.
the first African woman to be the president,
Right.
right? There are still accomplishments that we as a people have not made that they can be the first. They can be the first person to go to Mars, right? There are still things, everything everything has not been, quote unquote, done. There's still things that they can do. Right now, we need somebody to find a cure for COVID-19, right? You can accomplish anything you put your mind to. That's number one. You have entrepreneurs, African Americans and non-African Americans. You have millionaires at 15 years old. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So they live in an age and they live at a time where it's not like us. When we were raised, young people, kids were to be seen and not heard. That's not today. Today is your day. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. You are young people who are starting nonprofits. You have, you know, my son's girlfriend started a nonprofit where she goes into the city of Atlanta and feed the homeless. She's in her 20s. You see, today is your day. You don't have to wait for tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. You can do it today. You can accomplish anything you put your mind to. That's number one. And number two, for me, being born outside of the country, I don't buy into the America that you see from a Black Lives Matter. This is the greatest country on the face of the planet. And the reason I can attest to that is you can see all these Black millionaires, these Black billionaires, none of them are leaving. None of them. They're not going to Paris. They're not going to England. They're not going to Australia. They're not. When people have the money to leave the country, they don't leave. But what do you see? You see people coming from all over the world. You have people walking from Guatemala, walking through other countries to get here. Again, I'm logical. You can buy into the hype, you can buy into the propaganda, you can buy into the agenda, but understand something. This is still the greatest country on the face of the planet. This is a country where you can literally start with nothing. When I say nothing, I'm not being hypothetical. I'm not being, you know, metaphorical. I mean nothing. Zero in your pocket and end up being a billionaire. That's this country. And the one thing, the hypocrisy of athletes, right? Again, I know because from a basketball standpoint, if your son, and we won't say your son, but like a LeBron James, once it's been identified, you as an athlete or you as a musician, once you identify as being special, all that racism stuff, that goes out the window. I can guarantee you LeBron James never paid a dime to play basketball. People, I tell young people, if you excel in high school, people will pay for you to come to your college. Pay. They want you because you become an asset to them. The thing about it is, it's not about skin color. It's about, are you an asset? Are you providing value? If you can provide value, people will pay. If your son gets to the point where he is identified as one of the best football players in high school, I guarantee you there are colleges that will come from all over the United States of America. They won't care his skin color. Can you
Look at Justin Fields.
a national championship? That's what they're concerned about.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the thing I try to get people to understand, be the best. If you can provide value, if you can just be the best that you can be, people will pay for you. They will come and they will help you. They will assist you. Be the best you can be.
If you don't say anything else, you said more than enough. Like
that's my passion. That's my passion.
That's amazing. That's a lot. Like that's a lot. And I'm sure it's resonating with anybody who does watch when they do. I know that everything you said was so powerful for me. And It's definitely like just if we're looking at just my son alone, much less what other moms and dads might be telling their young men. That's what we're telling them, exactly what you're saying right now. So if you're watching and you've heard your parents say these things, it's not coming from nothing.
No, I mean,
It's a real thing.
because it's truth.
It's the
The Bible
truth.
says,
Yeah.
out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Which
And
what we're
here's your
talking
number 3,
truth.
okay?
We're talking truth. And again,
Yes,
like I
it
said,
is.
you know, I coach my sons. And the other thing, young people have to understand, no matter, especially from an athletic standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to end one day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I drill that into my kids, whether even if you go to the highest levels, you
Yeah.
still have to retire. And you don't
Right.
want to be like a TO. So what happens next? You want to be like a Michael Jordan. You want to be able to own a basketball team after.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be like
Yeah.
a Shaquille O'Neal is on the
Multiple
board
businesses.
and own multiple businesses,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. And that's one of the things we tell him all the time is like, when we say have a plan B, we don't mean like you got to pick something else just in case you fail. Like, you know, because he also wants to be an engineer. So it's not like he's just banking on football. But if football works out, or even if you become a really good engineer, you're making a good salary, there's something you need to do with your money besides just pay bills. You need to set yourself up because you never know. People get laid off, businesses close, opportunities die, and you still need to be able to go on. So always put
Uh-huh.
yourself in a position to be able to rebound, but it starts while you're in the elevated position. So while you're playing, while you're working in whatever position you're in, put money back or invest in something so that when this is gone, you can just pivot to that and still be okay. Right. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you hopping on here with me. You had so many amazing words to share, and your journey was inspirational, coming from another country to here and being able to do the things that you're able to do just off of just everyday drive and motivation. And, you know, of course, your love for God and things like that. Like it's all a really inspirational thing. Before I let you go, is there anything that you want anyone to know you have coming up, or if people wanted to reach you, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, again, let me say first, thank you to you again for having me. It's been a pleasure. Because of COVID-19, there isn't too much going on. You know,
Right.
we have social distancing going on, but usually if people want to get a hold of me, the easiest thing to do is just send me an email, and it's just Pastor Curt, PastorCurt at satwc.org. That's the easiest thing.
Okay.
Or they can go to our church website, which is www.satwc.org, and then do the contact information there. Just contact us. That also comes to me.
All
So
right.
we're easy. And if they want to find out more about us, again, they can Google us on YouTube. If you just put in my name, Curt Buckmire, Buckmire. All our messages are cataloged on YouTube.
Oh, good.
And we're also on Facebook as well with Spirit and Truth Worship Center.
Okay.
So we're out there. We're out
Okay.
there. We're easily found.
All right, cool beans. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you all for watching. We'll have another one very soon, but I really want you guys to grab your sons and grab your loved ones and watch this, because you'll get so many great nuggets from everything that Pastor had to say today. Thank you again. And you guys
Thank you.
have a great day.
Take care.
You too.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. There are so many people who need to hear what he was talking about. Don't you agree? See you next time.